Hey guys, it's Joyce. Thank you for being here. Lisa was framed, and my other channel is Morrigan a Wing. Some of you will recognize this place where I'm going today. I've made several videos here. This is actually one of my favorite places in St. Augustine. It's an abandoned black cemetery, two abandoned black cemeteries, but it is so peaceful there. It is completely surrounded on two major sides by a very well maintained cemetery that does not have anywhere near the soulful, loving, peaceful vibe as the San Sebastian here and the Pinehurst behind it. Perhaps because both of these cemeteries, historically very significant, the Pinehurst in back is the oldest black segregated cemetery in Florida. Back straight through those trees is the Pinehurst. At this point, they are completely maintained by volunteers. So it doesn't always look great. These signs and the plaques on the concrete gate are new. But it is nothing but love and respect and appreciation that maintains it. There are church groups and the National Guard and 4-H and various organizations that get together and spend time here monthly. People in the neighborhood, any extant family members, and weirdos like myself who come to pick up trash, which is what I did today, or bring tribute to the slaves that are buried here, which I have done repeatedly. And as you can see here, I am so delighted to see the gifts that I have brought the slaves, like that pistachio calcite chip, remain months later. That's the tea I brought for that person. All the slaves got cups of tea today. So let's begin. The Pinehurst and San Sebastian cemeteries on Pearl Street in West St. Augustine, or just known as West Augustine. In this parcel of land, there are at least 65 found graves without markers or identification of any kind. In these, the oldest black cemeteries in Florida, there are Civil War, yes, Civil War, World War I, lots of railroad workers from the Henry Flagler days, and people who were a part of this community, an important part. 175 years of souls. This portion in front here is the San Sebastian, and it is suspected to have been part of an Oddfellows cemetery. There was a lodge under the Grand United Order of Oddfellows on 92 MLK Street in Lincolnville. Lincolnville was referred to as Negro Town, Colored Town. It was the freedmen area of town. That is on the south side of the borders of the old walled city of Old Town, St. Augustine. Lincolnville is very low. It floods horribly. It is the biggest gentrified mess going on in St. Augustine right now. Absolutely beautiful area, rich with history. Martin Luther King was here. People died when Martin Luther King were here. A lot of history. Scipio Miller was a Civil War veteran. He was in the 33rd U.S. Colored Infantry. He is one of the 3 Union soldiers buried here. It's believed that the cemetery was created shortly after the construction of the St. Luke's African Methodist Episcopalian Church was built on Pearl Street in 1890. I didn't get a picture of it in this video. I have in past videos that I've done. It's across the street, not directly across the street. It's across the street and just east, about say the space of one housing lot. There is a creek, a natural body of water that runs between these two cemeteries and the well-maintained cemetery next door, which is the Evergreen. On the other side of that creek is St. Luke's Church. Its first deeded ownership was in 1906 to the San Sebastian Cemetery Association. Following that, in 1955, deeds were transferred to the Pinehurst Cemetery Association. In 1963, the Pinehurst Cemetery Association incorporated. And in 2014, the deed was transferred to West Augustine Improvement Association, which has been leading cleanups since 1999. We're still here in the front portion. We're still here in the San Sebastian, surrounded by natural bodies of water, and it's low. It floods all the time here. In fact, when I was here right after the first storm, right after Hurricane Ian, there was still standing water. Digging the stones out of accumulated silt is something that's regularly done by the various groups. Family enclosures, family tombs are common here. You'll also see an abundance of shells or cups, or here you've got a hat. I've learned that this is very common in Black culture to leave shells as a sign of reincarnation and everlasting life, leaving gifts of various things, which is why I've started bringing gifts over the last year, and they've all stayed. I can tell you that I've also left gifts for the cemetery next door, the well-maintained one, the Evergreen, where there are children buried, babies, and not all of them have remained. Many of them have been taken. So I'll leave that up to you to decide. Interestingly enough, the abandoned black cemetery and the people that go there seem to have more respect for the dead. Beautiful fungus there. I'm not sure what that was, but it was gorgeous. There's something that's growing wild all over this cemetery, some kind of thing that kind of reminds me of a ginger plant. And yes, I placed that beautiful handmade necklace there on Florence's tomb at least 6 months ago, and it remains. The things that I place here remain, but the things I placed in the other cemetery does not. There's St. Luke's, just across the street, and a housing lot's distance to the east. Actually, across the street from the most western portion of Evergreen. So, as to the groups that work to maintain these two cemeteries, they include Johnson & Johnson, 4-H, the Florida Public Archaeology Network, St. Johns County, which is the county we live in, Home Depot, Florida National Guard, rest of the groups that get together officially to clean up and maintain these two cemeteries include Johnson and Johnson, 4-H, the Florida Public Archaeology Network, St. Johns County, which this is the county we live in, St. Johns County, Home Depot, the Florida National Guard, which has a huge auxiliary base here. You may know from other videos. That's where the 3 pyramid ossuaries are, honoring the massacre that occurred during the Second Seminole War. The pyramids that are on the exact same alignment with the pyramids at Giza. Yeah, supposedly done in the 1800s. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Anyway, also Flagler College, Operation Restore Respect, which is a group of military families that come in and make it their purpose to do things like that, clean up military graves and add flags. And then all of the churches in the neighborhood, including the Mormon church in the city. The First Congregation Sons of Israel is the oldest synagogue in St. Augustine. It sits at 161 Cordova Street in the old part of St. Augustine, outside of the original walled city, but technically in the portion of town now referred to as Lincolnville. Lincoln, as in freeing the slaves, it was the colored, as it was called at the time, part of town. Freedman Town, Negro Town were all names that were given to it. In the 1800s, the Jewish people that came to St. Augustine were of Russian and Eastern European descent. If you notice some of these headstones, you will definitely see those types of names. The congregation chartered itself in 1908. Construction, we are told, was initiated, at least on a financial paper aspect, by Henry Flagler, who apparently put forth the money to build these folks a synagogue. They were meeting in different people's homes at the time. He gave the job to the gentleman who he had brought to St. Augustine to build a couple of things for him. If you've seen some of my videos about historical buildings in St. Augustine, what's known as the Flagler period, then you will recognize the name F.A. Hollingsworth. He was said to be the greatest historical architect of his time. He is attributed with building the Treasury Building, the only skyscraper in Old Town. Also, the St. Augustine Public Works Water Building, a very Tartarian-looking structure, along with the Orange Street School. The original Orange Street School burned. Oh, my goodness. But the replacement was kept to his standards. This cemetery is usually closed off and inaccessible. Adding to that, you are not allowed to park on the vacant lot next to it. But as I was driving back home today, I noticed that there were workmen parked all over that lot where it says, "Do not park, private property, blah, blah, blah." I thought I would take advantage of that and pop in. So, yes. The First Congregation Sons of Israel Cemetery. Well maintained and lovely. I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. I will get this finished and put up, and then I'm actually off in my little red car to a slave cemetery in Jacksonville. So, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed. And I hope it inspires you to look into your community and see what you can do, not as part of an organization, just you. Go out and clean up the houses of the dead and the villages of the dead. Bring some peace, bring a rake, bring a garbage bag. Do what you can. Protect the dead from the living. Thank you.